Hello and Happy New Year 2026. We're 16 days in, Zach, at this time of recording. This will probably air next week at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
But by the time this thing airs, we'll be damn near done with January, the first month. Chalk it up. We're getting close. Welcome back to the Lead with Empower podcast. We are recording our first of 2026, first of many.
Yep.
How was holiday break, New Year, all that fun stuff, and how was it getting back into the shuffle? We hit the ground running the week of January 5th with some pretty good programming. How was everything for you over the break and kind of get back in the swing of things?
It was good. So this is always a crazy time for me. Like obviously everybody, but especially now, just because there's Christmas, and then a week later there's New Year's, and then a week later I have a birthday, and then obviously back to work. So like it was just back to back to back. It was all great. And then I love how our first program back after a week or two off was our a big program with a bunch of middle school kids. And getting back into it, I wanted it because I love working, but getting back into it, like I was at my computer and like I almost had to review a whole bunch of things on the program. Like, okay, let me get back into chaos mode. And I was happy to do it.
Yep. And it's funny how just like we're literally down for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And the rust that can accumulate after a short little layoff, because I found myself doing the same. I'm like, I better get my mental reps in the car, or the morning of before we get in front of people, just to not stutter all over myself.
Yeah. I know you and I joked walking up to the building was like, this isn't New London with like 13 to 18,
students. Yeah, we're on 300 in less than 3 hours. And it was their first day back, because they had a Monday holiday and then the Tuesday off. So not only were we kind of jumping back into the fold, but the group of 6th, 7th, and 8th graders from McDonough were jumping back into the fold. And I do have to give a shout out to the McDonough students. We've had 2 sessions so far in 2026 for our Wednesday enrichment program there. And it's been a lot different than it was in 2025. We're starting to see some students get it. There's some community being built. There's some, I think, the rules, routines, and expectations of like what's expected of us when we show up to this thing. They're starting to understand that and live it. And we've been able to get through some fun, different challenges and activities and teachable moments. I think more so in 2026 than we were able to at the start of our programming partnership at the end of 2025.
1000%. I think it goes on both ends too, because from our experience, we've nothing against McDonough. Like we've dealt with lots of pushback on programs before, and then not just at McDonough, anywhere. So like we mentally prepare ourselves for that, and we learn and grow. And the more rapport you're building, especially with the same students, the better chances you have at the next program. And obviously, you and I both know we shifted our program idea and our activities and how we are facilitating them for the next two for 2026, and I think it made a world of difference as well, not just for us but for the kids. So even though we're like meant to okay, let's grind, it hasn't been terrible. Like they're really
it's been much more efficient and much more engagement and overall just more fun. I think for everybody, for the students and for us as the facilitators, obviously the student experience takes priority.
I don't want to get too off track, but there's a few students that I have there that you can just see in their face, in their eyes, they don't want to like it. Like they think they know it's too not cool to enjoy us being there. Like they want to be part of the peer pressure of like sticking around, but like they want to participate, and like slowly but surely we're just breaking them down. Like they realize like there's nothing to lose to participate and have some fun, and like seeing that conversion over the last few weeks have been really cool.
Yeah, and again, we were just talking before we started recording. Yesterday, which was Thursday. Two great events. One up in Longmeadow at the Longmeadow High School with their winter sports captains, and then one with New Britain Parks and Recreation, their after school program at. I had DeLoretto Middle on Tuesday, and then I was at Pulaski Middle School yesterday. Kind of same thing. DeLoretto's group was small, pretty easy to get the group engaged. I think it was about 12 kids, students, middle school students. Yesterday I had upwards of like 25, 30, and there were definitely some of those students who were not standoffish, but like, what is this guy going to ask us to do? And a couple of the boys who were, I would say, the most distant at the beginning, throughout the program, they were into it. And at the end of the event, I had an opportunity to talk to both of them, and it was like, was it more fun or less fun than you thought? And they both were like 2 thumbs up.
Yeah.
So, and again, this isn't necessarily the theme of the podcast, but for people that are in education, camp, after school programming, one of the tactics that we try to teach with our facilitation team here when we're working with groups is, if you have a group of 50 people, participants, and there's a handful of them that are disengaged, you kind of have a few choices as the leader. Like, choice number 1 is to completely ignore, which is probably not the right answer. Choice number 2 is to kind of hammer on those 5 kids about why they're not participating and just try to grind them down to a nub until they decide to like wave the white flag and participate. But when you're doing that, it's at the expense of the other 45 students.
Right.
Choice number 3 is, you know what? I'm going to let them have their space. Not going to forget about them, but I'm going to give them the impression that I'm kind of turning my back on them. When in reality, I still have an eye and an ear on those 5 students that are withdrawn. But I'm going to make whatever I'm doing with those other 45 students, I'm going to present it as if it's the coolest freaking stuff in the universe. I'm going to be like the ultimate hype man for like any little thing that they do well. And then what starts to happen, you're like, oh, there's some move. Oh, shoot, 2 people are walking out the bleachers and joining the group because it looked fun, not because I was screaming and hollering at them or threatening them or just blatantly ignoring them. It was like, let's frame it so like what we're doing right now is the coolest thing anybody in the universe wants to do.
Yeah, that's one of the first things that you essentially taught me when it comes to these programs. Instead of pulling teeth and dragging people and making them participate, like, screw it. Okay, you know what? You don't want to do it. I'm not going to make you do anything. This is purely for you. So go sit down, and I'll put 110% of attention to the people that want to be there. And it's not a punishment. We're not trying to like get anybody in trouble and sit down or anything like that. But they see how much fun people are having, or the other participants are having. They want to jump in, and you welcome them in with open arms to come back.
Oh, 100%. There's no like, what's your gate? What's your passcode to get back to the group? It's like, oh, hey, great, come on over, jump in with this group or jump in with this team, or hey, this is what we're doing.
I think it's tricky, like, to play the fine line of like not in trouble. Like, I want you to come back and let them know that, and they need to know that they can join back in at any time. But at the same time, I'm not going to pay any more attention to you disrupting or holding back me moving forward with my group.
Yep. And and that does, like, and again, this is for anybody listening that's in, working with people in general, youths or adults, athletes, whatever it might be. When we run our program, we're looking at, we try to do everything in our power for group appropriateness, inclusivity. So making sure that it's something that everybody can do. And safety from both a physical standpoint and a social emotional standpoint. And just like everything else that anybody does, there's different levels, and there's different levels of comfort with any of those kind of topics. And for some students to jump into a goofy game is like just breathing, right? Oh, that looks fun. Let me go try it. For other students, their barrier might be a little bit thicker. It might, in their mind, seem either physically or social emotionally unsafe. And some of it is just like, hey, let me sit back and get a preview, before I feel that level of comfort and confidence to jump in and try it myself. And that's, I think it's important to remember, not everybody's marching to the same beat of the same drum. Everybody has different comfort zones. And to try to force people, you lose the whole allure of experiential education.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So and then the other part is like, we make decisions on a daily basis, and those decisions drive kind of what happens next. So like, if my decision is to sit out for the 2 hours of the program, I'm going to have to deal with the ramifications of, while I'm bored, I'm not able to interact with any of my friends, I'm not able to use technology. And what am I going to do for the next 2 hours? Right. So that's a decision that, you make it and you live with it. And then the other decision is, let me sit back and just take a look at it. And then when I feel okay enough to jump in, I'm going to give it a shot. And people are going to be more willing to be open to learn and try, if it's not like they're getting dragged out of the bleachers by their hair to come participate. Like, they actually made and at the end of the day, like, and I'm not a big fan of the phrase challenge by choice, because it's so cliched in the adventure ed, but that's literally what it is. If we're forcing this stuff on them, all they're doing is building more barriers to learning.
Yeah.
If we're inviting and open and kind of letting them somewhat choose the course, they're going to be more pliable, more willing to be open to learn, because we didn't. All right, down here now.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's so it's been a good start.
Yep.
Busy couple weeks, which is awesome for January. Busy weeks coming up as well. And it is the new year, and I know a lot of people, maybe not everybody, but I know a lot of people, every time the calendar flips and we enter a new year, there's resolutions and there's things that people aim to accomplish over the course of the year. And hope everybody's doing well, 16 days into the month. And that at least the resolution lasted this long.
Yeah. I read a recent statistic of, this is the typical one. I'm going to start going to the gym in 2026 or after the new year. So I read that between January 1st and January 31st, by the February, 80% of people, 80% that made the resolution to go to the gym and start getting in shape drop by February 1st.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, we could start talking about like how to overcome those things. When you say you're going to do it, go ahead and do it. Don't take too big of a bite, and like have a realistic goal and expectations. And you can obviously dwindle that down all the way down to a program size over the next 2 hours. What do you think that we can accomplish today?
Yeah, and I like what you said, not biting off more than you could chew. And I also think, like, I feel like the default is like, I'm going to work out, I'm going to work out 5 days a week. Okay?
Yeah.
But there's never any, and again, when you look at any sort of like goals or resolutions, like, if there's not in your personal mind, if there's not like, there's not a conversation of like, why is this important to me?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to peter off, right? If you don't take like the crawl, walk, run approach, like, I want to become an Olympic lifter by February 10, it's going to happen, right? So, like, are we taking these kind of like mini goals or baby steps and really doing something that's achievable, versus like this grand big thing that's going to eventually just feel like this heavy weight that you can't accomplish and is just pushing your shoulders down.
Exactly. I mean, we could even talk further of like, have like micro goals
Yeah.
throughout your day or within your hour. And then once you're able to know that you can mentally accomplish those, make them bigger from there. And I think that like you said, I'm going to start going to the gym, and I'm going to become a bodybuilder or a lifter, or I'm going to look super good for the summer. Like, okay, great. Good for you.
Got to start somewhere.
What's your experience what's exactly, what do you need to do to get to that point?
Yep.
And aside from just sign up for a gym membership, so having those micro goals really helps. And then I love how we implement that into our programs as well.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. So like, and this is one of the things, it's a very, very common teachable concept in a lot of our programs, and this idea of controlling the controllable, right? And in anything, whether it's a personal goal you're trying to achieve, whether it's an academic accomplishment that you're trying to achieve, if it's something in athletics where, hey, we want to win our conference or beat these rival teams or whatever it is,
Right.
at the end of the day, we don't necessarily control the results of the situations we put ourselves in. You could train your butt off for a competition, and whatever competition it is, you could train your rear end off, practice your instrument, get into the gym, all these different workouts and plans. And come time to compete, you're going to run into somebody that's bigger, faster, stronger, that's more talented. And if you're over focused on just the result and not where was I at the start, where am I now, it can become a pretty depressing internal conversation with yourself. Like, oh my goodness, for example, New Britain Parks and Recreation, one of the students there, we did our little head, shoulders, knees, feet, cone kind of wrap up activity. And this one participant was the last one on her team, and she was facing off against the last person on another team, and she lost the final battle. And of course, everybody celebrated the person that won. And the other person was like, "Oh, I'm so mad I lost. I'm so mad I lost." And I kind of heard it, and I'm like, "Hey, did you try your best?" Yeah, of course I did. Like, I made it. I was the last person on my team. So there's value in that. You were 2 out of like 20 people that made it to the end. You were one of 2. And it got into that conversation of like, it's so easy to compare ourselves against all these other people, especially with social media. We're seeing all this stuff that's probably mostly fabricated, right, on our phones, and we get caught up in this game of comparing ourselves against the kind of almost the unachievable. Versus, hey, was I a better Dan today than I was yesterday? Were you a better Zach today than you were yesterday? Or were you a better Zach after that workout than you were at the start of it? And so just trying to shift how we think about our own goal achievement, both personally and in group dynamics.
Yes, and I think like going a little further than that too. I don't think that the message that we're trying to portray there is everyone gets a trophy. That's that's the first thing that I would think of, like, oh, I lost, but here you still get like the same trophy that the one that won. Like, no, like competition is competition. What we're trying to say is, did you do everything in your power to get to that point?
Yep.
When you look back, you beat out 20, 30, 40 other students to get to the finals of that competition. Yes, you lost. That's too bad. Look behind you at the 35 other people that didn't get there. Not as a comparison thing, but you did well.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
we want to congratulate you for that. And like even another example of that is we use that in pipeline, where sometimes participants can't get past like 6
Yeah.
pipelines in a certain activity. Sorry, if the listeners, if you don't know what pipeline is, we'll explain it another day. But essentially, what's happening is they're trying to get a ball all the way down a field, and they're not even getting it 10 feet. And then all of a sudden, 3 rounds later, they're getting it down 30 feet. Like, okay, that's not the whole way down the field, but celebrate. You tripled what you
Yep.
did 5 minutes ago. So take that. What did we learn from it? How did you get there? Now let's do it again.
Yep. Yep. 100%. So, in this, again, it's always great conversations to see. And again, yesterday I lived it firsthand. This young lady in middle school was upset. Had a quick little conversation, about not trying to chase down someone else's greatness, but what are you doing to chase down your own greatness? And with that mindset, I agree full heartedly. I'm not a fan at all of the everybody gets a trophy, because part of life too, you got to learn to win with grace and you got to learn to lose with grace, right? None of us are perfect. None of us are undefeated. So like, there's going to be moments when you're like, yes, I did it. And like, the old, I'm a huge, big football guy. I love Barry Sanders, one of the greatest running backs of all time. He scored a touchdown. He didn't do any it was toss the ball to the referee, because I've been there before and I expect to be there again. So I'm not going to celebrate it like it's this once in a lifetime momentous thing that I scored a touchdown. Same thing, losing with grace, right? It's a heck of a lot easier to go to bed at night knowing that you gave everything you could, or your team gave everything that they could to the situation, and you fell short. Maybe the opponent was just better that day. No, we don't get a trophy for that, but we know we gave it our best crack, and we're going to hit the ground running again tomorrow. So it's all It's all control the controllable. It's all mindset. Now, we're gonna share. Again, this is not an earth-shattering thing, but it kind of organizes and puts some structure to how do. Yeah, great. Control the controllable. How the heck do we go about to do it? Right? How do we go about doing it? How do we get not become over focused on result and truly embrace this idea of like there's a process, there's a price to pay that I can pay toward trying to achieve success. So,
Right.
And this is a tool that we've used, and we'll make sure we dump it into the podcast video, and maybe I'll include a link to view or download it when we get it up on the web. But essentially there's 5 steps that I guess we teach. Step number 1 is the clarity and purpose. All right, so right, great. I want to become more fit, or I want to improve my grades, or I want to make this team, or I want to make this band, the first seat in the band, or whatever it might be. The clarity and purpose before you start doing anything. This is really going to be kind of your guiding light, your North Star. Like, do I know what I'm trying to accomplish? Am I identifying why it's important to me? Do I know kind of the rules I'm going to have to play by? Do I have an idea of what available resources and support will be there for me if and when I need that? So kind of just taking this mental exercise, and if it's something that's like explained to you, so if you're a student and you get this project that's due in 2 months, like if you don't understand something, ask. Right? Don't the old there's no such thing as a dumb question except for the question that's not asked.
Right.
So I think the first step of kind of this idea of controlling the controllable and setting yourself up for success and kind of paying the price towards success is have an idea of what's that goal clarity, what's my purpose, right? What am I trying to accomplish? Why is it important to me? What are the rules I got to play by? The resources available to me, and then do I make sure that I have a full understanding before I embark on this goal achievement journey?
Yep.
Now the second step is preparing for success. So we kind of have this long vision right now, and again, anytime we're embarking on this achievement process, we typically have 3 choices, right? One of them is the price to pay for success. 2 of them are going to make success harder to come by. The price to pay for success, be prepared. Brainstorm different ideas. Now, if this is a team environment, this is where you're going to want to hear from the different people that are part of the team. If it's an individual situation, this is like, all right, great. I know what I want to accomplish. What are some different things I can do to try to get there? But without having that like brainstorm, you're probably putting the blinders on and missing some information that might be helpful to you down the road. Coming to a consensus. Right? Great. You have all these different ideas. Can we get myself, the individual, or the team to all buy into like, hey, we're taking little bits of everybody's ideas, and this is the initial plan of attack we're going to take. Do we ensure that all, I'll call it stakeholders, have 100% understanding of our action plan? Stakeholders, it could be, if it's an individual thing, yourself and the people in your little support network. If it's a team thing, obviously it's all members of the team, right? Or the group. And then making sure you take some time. Again, this is more of a team environment concept, but like, does everybody know what their expected roles and responsibilities are, right? And why it's important to the team success, that why is their individual role or responsibilities important to our overall team chance at achieving success?
Yeah. Before you continue, I think it's worth noting, worth saying before the third level is this conversation, these levels that you're talking about when it comes to leadership and getting to a goal and achieving success is extremely important just because we don't do it anymore. We don't sit down and like put literal pen to paper of like what the goals are, what we should be doing. When you're in school, like pen and paper is second nature. When you start,
Not anymore, man. The tablets, bro.
that's what I'm saying. Or like I know that sucks, but like when you see the teacher writing on the board, you immediately like boom, okay, let me start taking notes. And like even today, like I like the first months on the job, like I'm taking notes. I need to figure this out. And I think it's people are doing it less and less and less. I think that when someone gives you a task to finish something, they'll just jump into it, not think, not talk, not game plan, not do any of this. And I think it's one of the points that I make with like my higher level participants of, we're doing this for a reason. Like if this is not for my benefit, like when someone's asking you to do something, whether it's at school, home, or a sport, like think about why and think about how you can best accomplish it by, hey, let's write this down.
Yep.
Let's have some process of getting to that success.
Yep. Idea sharing. And like, there's nothing worse than like, if you're part of a group, there's nothing worse when you have disassociated members. Right. And the reason why a lot of members become disassociated is, well, I tried to share an idea, but no one listened to me.
Yep.
So,
Or another way of thinking about it too is, this wildly depends on age. So if we have a goal, if we have an activity, doesn't even matter what, and I explain the rules, any questions, whatever, and I say 3, 2, 1, go, and all of a sudden we'll see like seventh, eighth graders jump into it as fast as possible without a second thought, and they're just trying to get, beat the other team or get to that success, whatever. What adults will do is they'll sit there and they won't touch it for a few minutes and just sit and think,
yep.
because they don't want to mess up. They've had the 30, 40, 50 years of experience of like not wanting to screw up and like think things through. And like, of course, that comes with its own pros and cons if it's a timed activity, but you see that dynamic of like, okay, I see that you have had the experience in the past where if you didn't think something through to get to a goal, it didn't work.
Yep.
So now you're like, okay, let me sit down and see how I can achieve this.
Yep. 100%.
It's an important step.
100%. And that's, one of the things like, hey, with groups, we're always going to give you a little bit of planning time. Right.
Yep.
So if you're not listening to ideas, if you're not coming to one kind of full agreement with everybody involved, if everybody doesn't know what their role is and why it's important, you're making success harder to come by. And we both know this. And a lot of people, like the level and intensity of preparation is going to be the determining factor of the chance of success. Exactly. But I'm glad you brought up that point. Right. So of like adults or maybe somebody with more life experience might kind of take that pause. Let's not touch stuff. Let's not start driving until we know where we're going. But
yeah,
I've also seen the opposite of that. And there was a very high level college group that I've worked with over many times over the past years, from a school that's it's smarter than I could get into. They're intelligent individuals, but so step 3 is taking action. And the quick story here is we're working with this particular group. They're all at a college that is synonymous with a high level of intellect. They're all student athletes that have been voted captains of their respective college sports teams. So we're talking like cream of the crop at the college level, right? As far as like student athletes are concerned. We're doing this activity, the A-frame, and without sparing you, without going crazy with the details, the A-frame is a freaking complex activity. There's safety considerations all over the place. There's like 9 different roles that need to be played to successfully do it. And there was one group, and it was one of the funniest things. I think I had like an hour block with them to do this, complete this A-frame challenge. I'm like, I'm going to give you like 20 minutes of planning time, and everything you do during the planning time, you could pick up the A-frame, you could tie ropes around, like you could play with it, but none of it counts towards the challenge. Like when we hit go, everything's got to be so most of the groups were using that time, and they would hit like the 15-minute mark. Can we start? Can we start? Can we start? There was one group in particular, 20 minutes goes by. They're arguing. They haven't once touched the A-frame. They haven't once manipulated the A-frame using the ropes that we provided. So I'm letting it go. I'm like, all right, 20 minutes. And mind you, this was a 24-hour program, so we had some time to spare for the teachable moment that's coming. You guys ready to start? No, can we get a few more minutes? Yeah, sure. 25 minutes go by. Hey, y'all ready to start? No, we're not. 30. I finally walked over at like the 35-minute mark and asked, did any of you touch, because you're over here theorizing about what's going to work and what's not going to work, but you have not once put your hands on this piece of equipment and freaking tried something.
Yep.
So
and I think they didn't realize that that's part of the process. Yes, it's good to plan and articulate and not argue, but talk to each other. But if you're given the time and are allowed to touch and play with the tools that are given, you're chopping your leg off. Like manipulating it. It's not like he didn't say 3, 2, 1, go yet. Use the thing that's in front of you as part of the tools to plan.
Learn. Yeah. So
Learn.
especially this is a foreign, like this isn't like reading a book, like reading a new book, right? You've read books before. You know how to open that bad boy and turn the pages. You don't have to put that much level of prep into doing that task. This was something brand new, a completely foreign concept to this group. And it's, again, a complex initiative that we don't do with a lot of groups. So, it took them a while to take action. It was hysterical, but it was a great teachable moment about like your initial planning phase. Odds are it's not going to be the perfect plan at attempt number 1. It's going to be come up with a structure, try it, and then whittle it down from there. So just for clarity's sake here. So step 1, make sure you have clarity and purpose. Step 2, making sure you're using the time wisely to prepare for success, because the level of preparation is going to be a direct reflection of the potential for success. Step 3 is take action. Again, knowing your plan is not going to be perfect. Put your plan in action. Ideally, you're trying to do this with the highest level of focus, mental toughness, grit, perseverance, making sure you're not worried about all the other factors, just kind of focusing in on what you all can control, making sure you're communicating effectively with the people involved, whether it's about changes you're making or whether it's about the different responsibilities that all the people around you have for their contribution to the group. And then making sure we're having this mindset of like, coach up, don't put down, right? Knowing that our plan's not perfect, mistakes are likely. The best way to learn from mistakes is not to just freaking lambaste everybody that messes up, but taking that moment of like, why'd the mistake happen? What can we do to be a little bit better next rep? So,
and to add on to that one too, is you might see someone make a mistake and you might want to point fingers and or if you're grown to know enough to learn from it, but it's also be self-aware if you're the one making the mistake.
Yep.
You're like, yep, that was me.
I messed up. Anybody have any ideas?
Yeah.
That's okay. That's good. Yeah. Yep.
And it's not unfortunate, but I see it a lot where like they don't want to admit it, but when they do, like you learn something that
Yep. And I think, again, there's some people that are a little bit gun shy to admit a mistake because I think a lot of cultures that they might have been in, not when I say cultures, like team cultures, they might have been in before, they might be walking on eggshells because mistakes were treated like it was the end of the world situation. So, again, you never know where someone's coming from. So that mindset of like, hey, coach up, chin up, like what happened? What can we try to do? How can we support you? What can we try to do differently? Having those like types of conversations are really going to motivate and inspire people to turn it around, as opposed to just Zach's going to eventually be like, dude, I'm out. I have no interest in working with you. Okay.
Yeah.
And I have nobody to blame but myself, right? Because I'm putting you down as opposed to building you up. The 4th step is probably my favorite and probably one of the most critical. And in goal achievement is evaluate and adjust, right? So we got clarity and purpose, prepare for success, take action. Step 4 is evaluate and adjust. So we just touched on this. Your initial plan is not going to be right. When you do something new, you're going to mess up multiple times before you feel a level of confidence in whatever the task is, right? The first time you pick up an instrument, it doesn't sound good. The more you practice and adjust, the better you become. So evaluate and adjust is again, we've introduced like this idea in the past about keep, stop, start. It's a great tool that I love. But you do something, it doesn't work. Like you fail the initiative or you fall short of the mini goal for that week or whatever it might be, whatever the scenario might be. If you don't take this reflection time, odds are you're going to do the same thing and make the same mistakes the next time you try to do it. So Keep, stop, start is a simple reflection tool, either internally or with your team. Take some time to identify the stuff that worked, the good that you want to keep doing, right? That's your keep. So, oh, Zach, you did a great job of really focusing in and just doing your job. That, like, we need that to keep going, and we need other people to to do the same. Have that level of focus on their individual role. The next step is the stop. What were the challenges that stopped us from achieving? Stopped us from achievement, whatever that is. And again, when you're identifying these challenges, you want to try to avoid the blame game and have that coach up mentality. Hey, this happened because of this. Boom. The last step is start. Okay, we've identified the good that we want to keep. We've identified the maybe not so good things that stopped us, held us back. What are things we can start to do to fix it? Oh, we need to, we were yelling at each other a ton and it really held us back. It stopped us from achievement. Okay, let's start talking to each other, civilized, being solutions oriented, not blame oriented. So that's just an example of keep, stop, start, right? Identify the good that you want to keep doing, identify the things that stopped you from success, identify what you can try differently in the next rep.
What I think is really cool is not only do I love keep, stop, start, but it's cool to identify keep, stop, start in within a 20, 30, 45-minute activity. And you can use that as an example to do much, much, much bigger goals.
Yep.
So if you find that like you're making the same mistake over and over again and figure out how to fix it, you do it, and then it goes and the ball goes further, or you get it into the bucket, or whatever the case. Awesome, good job. How to relate to that for like a New Year's resolution of getting into shape or whatever it might be, it's much, much, much harder because it's not a 45-minute span. It's hours and hours, days and days, weeks and weeks, months and months to figure out what to keep, what to stop, and what to start.
Yep.
And people don't have that dedication to like really figure out like, okay, this diet's not working, but how long have you been trying to do it?
Yep.
Oh, 3 days, 1 week. You're like, come back to me after 3 months of being consistent and then tell me if it's not working. Or if it's like, oh, I can't lift this weight, like, okay, what have you been doing? What did you identify to stop? What are you going to start? Like, it's very, very difficult to do that over a big picture, but we use the programs and activities that we have to condense it into a 45-minute span where you can figure out what to keep, what to stop, and what to start to be able to achieve success within that activity period.
Yep.
But to be able to stretch that over months and years is the hard one.
Yeah, from a programmatic standpoint, I think there's a little bit, I wouldn't say it's immediate gratification, but it's like semi-immediate gratification because within an hour, you're going to go from like complete struggle to some semblance of success. In real world application, this keep, stop, start is doable, but you have to go into the mindset of it's a delayed gratification situation. Which I think goes back to a statement you made a few minutes ago about the importance of pen and paper, right? So if you have this long-term vision of like, I want to, lose X amount of weight by the end of the year, and then you have these mini goals, right? Are you taking notes? Are you journaling? Maybe once a week.
Right.
Once a week. Where did I, when did I feel a moment of weakness with my diet, but I had the discipline to stick to the plan? When did I have a weak moment? What might have caused the weak moment? Oh, I was out to dinner with friends and family and the dessert table came along. So now you're starting to formulate like these little things that are happening that are driving our decisions or making our decisions more difficult. And the more you kind of keep a record of that and keep track of that, the more likely you are to be able to combat it next time it comes around because you've thought about it, you put it down on paper, it was real. You didn't forget about it. Oh, I don't think I had pie last month. Yes, you did. You had 2 pieces.
Oh, I'll take that a step further. So clearly I used to do this for a living, is when someone wants like, okay, I want to get in shape this year. It's January 2nd, whatever. I'm like, okay, awesome. I give them a piece of paper and a pen. This is a real thing that I used to do. I'm like, write down everything you ate yesterday. And most people could not do it.
That's 24 hours, right? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
24 hours. They had no self-awareness of like what they were consuming, which is arguably 70-80% of what the changes that you're going to see over the year is what you eat versus working out. I don't want to get into that, but the fact is like you're just not self-aware enough to like, okay, you have these goals, which is great, but you have no pen to paper idea how to get there, taking action, and then obviously what to stop, what to start, and then
Yep.
what to continue.
Yeah, and again, it gets to it's a lot of work, right? So someone listening to this is like, damn, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Like I have a full-time job, right? I'm in school and I play sport. But you know what? If going back to if you've identified why, if you pick this goal and you've identified why it's important to you, then it's going to make it a little bit more likely that you're going to pour into it with a little extra work.
Yep.
Because it's that important to you. And then if you realize, like, I'm not willing to put in the extra work, and the goal wasn't that important to you to begin with.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And then, so the fifth controllable, and again, this kind of gets back to this idea of like run your race, right? Celebrate the W's. Now, I'm not saying you have a 12-month goal that you should expect to complete it in 1 or 2 months, or I'm not saying that you do a team building initiative and you finish it within the first 15 minutes, or I'm not saying that you become the person with the highest grades in your school, in the first 2 weeks back after vacation. Celebrating the W's is to me is celebrating the process over the product, the journey over the destination. So like, where was I when I started? Where am I now? Instead of beating yourself up, which builds negative momentum, and when there's enough negative momentum, it's like, F this, it's not that important to me anymore. I quit on the goal achievement, whatever it is. When we celebrate that progress, we start to stack these little momentum blocks. Holy crap. My goal was to work out 4 days a week, every week of the year. Week 1, I actually was able to do 5. Holy smokes. That feels great. I'm not going to change the goal. But next week I did 4. Great. Now, I have 2 weeks in a row now of hitting a benchmark. It feels good. Week 3 suddenly seems a little easier. Week 4 then suddenly. So when you celebrate progress, you're building this positive momentum. When you're beating yourself up for not achieving the damn thing in 16 minutes, you're building some negative momentum.
Yeah, and I mean, we could talk about this for a whole other podcast, but what you said, stacking, is spot on.
Huge.
Yes, maybe you want to call it you're celebrating W's, but like you are celebrating the feeling of winning.
Yep.
Even if you haven't won yet, you're getting the feeling of winning. So like in the analogy that we use for getting in shape or losing weight for the new year, you're like, okay, I had a glass of water instead of soda for lunch. That could be a W. Like that feels good when you're done. When you're hydrated instead of just drinking stuff that's not so great for you.
I know.
Yeah, I mean it's one drink. It's not a whole year, but that's still a good thing. Okay, let's make it a little bit bigger. You're going to bed at night and you ate exactly what you're supposed to eat, drank what you're drinking. You spent 30 minutes in the gym, something that you haven't done in months. You're going to bed. You should be going to bed with that W mindset. Like, you know what? I'm going to do that again starting tomorrow. That felt good. That turns into days and turns into weeks. Like you said, turn into months. But celebrating the W's at the beginning is when you're going to get to the goal in December.
Yep. And it ties right back into, I think, 2 things we talked at the start of the episode. 1, but act like you've been there before. Like, celebrate that cup of water instead of soda, but don't throw yourself a damn party where you're drinking a ton of soda, right? So, hey, good job. How do we maintain it, right? So, like, celebrating that W with, like, that, like you said, that stacking or that momentum on mind. Like, you didn't just complete the journey with that 1 glass of water. You took a step towards it, though, right? You took a step towards the destination. And then, again, I think celebrating the W's allows you to reshift how you think about. I'm not comparing myself against everybody else out there in the world. I'm trying to be the best version of me, right? And did my actions lead me to be a better Dan today than I was yesterday? If yes, cool, let's do it again tomorrow. It ends up being a little bit more fulfilling because you're starting to compare you against you. And you're really leaning into this idea of my own personal development, not me against the millions of people out there in the world, where odds are you're going to run into somebody that's more talented, more intelligent, better athlete, bigger, faster, whatever analogy you want to use. So, achieving what you want to achieve in the new year, it's never going to be easy. It's never a guarantee. But if you can really lean into the things that you can control, you're giving yourself the best shot to achieve whatever it is that you're setting out to achieve. And at the end of the day, even if you fall short, if you can stick to this process over product, clarity and purpose, preparing for success, taking action, evaluating and adjusting and celebrating the little W's. If you can really lean into that, even if you fall short, you've become a better version of you. And at the end of the day, that's really all we can ask of ourselves.
That's it.
But hey, so this wraps up episode 6, the first one of 2026. This winning goal achievement process, we'll have a document that will pop up throughout the podcast, and we'll also link it into the podcast notes once we get it posted up on our YouTube channel. Empower Leadership, Lead with Empower on Instagram. Check it out. Follow us, please. Follow us on YouTube. We'll be doing 2 podcast episodes pretty much every month of the year. So Zach, good start to the new year, brother. Appreciate you.
Happy New Year. Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. Looking forward to the next one.